Hi, this is Tanvi. We have back with us today Dr. Sukhpreet Patel, and we are going to talk about supplements and menopausal health today. I'm thrilled to have her simply because of the respect I have for her clinical experience, her qualifications, her global perspective, and her lifestyle coaching experience, not to mention a deep focus and research on menopause and hormones. So, today we will address supplements and how we can use supplements to support our hormonal health. Welcome to the show, Dr. Patel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again.
No, thrilled and extremely grateful for your time. Supplements for hormonal health. Tell us all about it.
So, I think what I like to start with is to understand the word supplement. It means, when we write an exam, we say, give me a supplement. Means there is a main paper that they're writing on. We need extra. We ask for a supplement. And that's what a supplement means, that we have certain things in our body, we consume them, those ingredients, through food and other nutrition, and then sometimes there is a deficit. We need to supplement. So it is not something which is our body doesn't recognize. It knows it because it normally gets it through food. But our habits, our requirements now are different. Foods are different, soils are different. What we're getting in the food is sometimes deficient. And hence we are trying to close the gap. And I think that basic understanding is really important before we think of supplementing ourselves with anything. Have I tried getting it through food? Have I tried getting it through food is one, but the second thing is it a compound or is it a thing that is already present in my body and it's coming through food anyway? What I mean is, like, if you look at supplements like vitamin D or B or whatever, right? These are naturally occurring in our food. Our body recognizes them as nutrition and it utilizes them, whether it's enzymatic processes or as building blocks, but it recognizes them. It is not an external agent. That is a supplement. So
Correct, correct. So in that case, doctor, tell us that during hormone, do we get depleted of any essential minerals or nutrients, macronutrients that the body needs? And if at all we are depleted of them, what are they and what do we need?
So basically, again, menopause and aging are happening simultaneously, and it's very hard to say that we are we deficient because of menopause or are we deficient because of aging? But that is besides the point. The bottom line is that we need the body to work at its optimum best. So how can we make it more efficient? How can we fill in the gaps? So if we forget about menopause or whether it is aging, let's just look at women's health per se. And are we getting deficient? If we look at simple things like calcium requirement, and calcium is so important. Every time someone thinks of calcium, they think about bones, right? Bones, teeth. And the bone is something that takes a big hit during menopause and perimenopause, where there is loss. Now, add a layer where I'm not taking enough calcium in my food. It's basically, when one looks at bone health, they're looking at three different parts. One is raw material, which will come in the form of calcium, vitamin D3, protein, magnesium. The second part is creating a demand. Only if I stress it will it grow. So, exercise, resistance training. And the third part comes all the other factors which may decide it, including hormones. So, if I want my bones to be at their best, I need all of this together. Just hormone therapy not going to solve the problem if I'm not taking enough calcium, because where is that calcium coming from for my bone? Right? If I don't offer any resistance, again, it is not going to work as efficiently. So I need all of these tools together for bone health. And that, talking about supplements, then we talk about calcium, right? It's the simplest supplement for everyone if it's not being met through diet. So I would say, okay, average requirement for calcium for a menopausal woman is 1200 milligrams a day. And I think as an exercise, I like everyone to actually measure what they're doing for a week and see how much they're getting of calcium. Because calcium is a threshold mineral, which means if I take it up to a certain point till I fill up my gap, it has a benefit. Anything extra doesn't do anything good for me.
Does it calcify the plaque?
Well, that is the other problem. There was a study which did show that there was excessive calcification of plaques, and I think there have been follow-ups on that, and they haven't been able to reproduce it. But it has left a lot of doubt, and hence the common recommendation is eat how much calcium you need. If you're getting 1200 in your food, let it be. Like 12 to 1500 won't really harm. Most of the side effects and problems are if one is consuming more than 2000 milligrams a day, which is actually quite large. Only if one is like completely on dairy, only dairy all day, only then they can reach like 2000 is pretty difficult to get if you are not on a supplement. So it's, I think that mental calculation is a good thing, or do a
But
physical
1200
calculation.
across the board for any body weight?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it's an
okay.
average. 1200
That's
is an
interesting.
average.
Acha, average.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So 1200, some can go up to 1500. Like I would say, okay, err on the side of caution and take a little extra.
Yeah, because is it all bioavailable and does it all bind to the bone?
Yeah, so now that is another problem to consider because calcium is available in so many different compounds. You have calcium carbonate, you have the calcium citrate malate, so many different kinds of calcium. Calcium carbonate is the cheapest, most easily available calcium, and it is sometimes the only problem is that its absorption can vary, and therefore some we will say, okay, if absorption is seeming like a problem, then go with CCM, which is calcium citrate malate, which has a better, more predictable absorption rate. And it's less affected by what else you've eaten at that time. So it is a little better in that sense. Um,
So is it only the affordability that makes one prescribe calcium carbonate over the malate?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So that is
So in
what.
general, if one can afford it, they should take the calcium malate.
Yes, it's
Citrate
it's
malate.
citrate malate. It's just a better, more predictable form of calcium. But then comes what else are you taking with that calcium? So calcium is better absorbed when you are taking it with vitamin D3. It is better absorbed if you're taking some magnesium. So now if you see some of the calcium supplements, they come just like that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
With vitamin D, I've seen.
Yeah. So some have some magnesium, some will have some zinc. So they all come with a combination. The important thing is consistency. You know, we get so stuck up with the nitty gritties. Are we really doing it consistently is the question. And I think like that's like, okay, if the strip got over, the next one doesn't come home. You know, and then there's 6 months not taking anything. That consistency is key. Whatever you do, just stick to it. Do it.
Any optimal time to have it, or before or after a meal to have it? Any optimal time for a calcium tablet?
So preferably after a meal. Usually I tell women to have it with their magnesium at night if they're on a magnesium supplement, because that will also aid calcium absorption. But it's, again, I keep coming back to whatever makes you remember to take it. Consistency is key. You know, if you're going to forget at night, then just take it in the morning, but just take it at some point.
Okay.
Preferably never combine calcium with iron. That's the rule, because calcium inhibits absorption of iron. So we usually say don't take it with your source of iron. Make sure you're taking it a little further away from it, because it won't let your iron get absorbed, especially if you're taking like an iron supplement. If you're anemic and you're on iron supplement, don't take the iron and calcium together.
Okay.
So that's one. Yeah, so different supplements, different your bone supplements mainly. I feel the low hanging fruit is get your calcium together, get your D3 together. We are living in a tropical country. We have sunlight, but we are practically all of us are deficient in vitamin D, especially when in urban areas where we're not really stepping out into the sun. And we have no business being low in D3. So I think that is one easily achievable
We
goal.
don't, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When my daughter was studying in Scotland, I gave her D3 supplementation because it was Scotland, because it was cold, because it was dark and gloomy in the winter. But I think we as urban people, even in Bombay, can afford getting out in the sun and don't.
Absolutely. But also then how much of D is how much of those ultraviolet rays are reaching us is the question with
Okay.
our clothing, with our sunblock, with just the pollution. So it is, I think it's safer to take that vitamin D. And yes, of course, it's best to check with levels because vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So the difference between fat soluble and water soluble vitamins is that the water soluble ones get thrown out and when they're in excess, but the fat soluble ones stay in your body. They don't really get thrown out. And there can be toxicity if you are consuming way too much. But I have still to see someone who has consumed way too much and has got vitamin D toxicity. So the important thing is to not be a basic minimum. You know, if you see levels of vitamin D that typically 30 is the cutoff, 13 I think is nanogram per deciliter, I'm not sure of the unit, but typically the cutoff is 30 and people tend to stay around. They, even if they're 30, they're like, okay, it's okay. But today it seems like vitamin D is involved in so many different enzymatic processes. We want to be close to a 50
Okay.
rather than be just at the bichara cutoff of 30. So, you know, keep it at a good middle level so that it's not only affecting your bones, it's also making a difference in your metabolism and all the other pathways happening in your body, including processes in the brain. So it is really important to, you know, these are, as I say, they're low hanging fruit. Why should we be deficient in just these basic things? We've got bigger.
But B12 is not low hanging fruit for a vegetarian. So, how, nutritionally, in terms
Yeah.
of food,
Yeah.
it's a difficult one. So, again, is that
Supplement it.
something?
Supplement it. Like I feel like B12 again is low hanging fruit in terms of being able to supplement it.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Like, you know,
Any advice again on when to have it and in what form? What are the different forms of B? Tell us about that.
yeah. So B12 now is available as a sublingual tablet, which means you put it under your tongue. And the big advantage of drugs delivered sublingually, you know, like the sorbitate, which someone has a heart attack, they give it under the tongue.
Yes.
Because the absorption is quick, it's going directly. See, it's not going through the stomach, has to be absorbed in the intestine and all of that stuff.
Okay.
It's actually just going straight. There's a network of blood vessels under your tongue. It's getting absorbed straight into your system. And that's why the action is so quick. So because B12 absorption is tricky, when we take it as an oral capsule or tablet, there are a lot of factors in the stomach that decide whether how much it will get absorbed. And if we take it sublingually, we then bypass all of that stuff that has to happen in our gastrointestinal tract, and the absorption is more consistent then. So taking it sublingually is, again, it's pretty easy. It's available in India. And, you know, I think if someone is chronically deficient, sometimes they need it every day, but I feel like it's available as a 1500 microgram tablet.
Anything like an overdose of B12?
Usually the body throws it out, but still it can get, I've seen women with very high levels, and sometimes those high levels can present as acne.
Oh.
Yeah, because apparently it changes the microbiome in the skin, and it can then give rise to acne through that pathway.
But this also goes to show that labs are so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would ideally want to run a lab, see what the level is, and then supplement accordingly. But also, I would want the woman to be in the middle, like not if the cutoff is 250, then and range is usually between 200 something to 800 something. I would want the person to be like 500, 600, not right here.
I see. Okay.
Because we want efficiency. Lab ranges are made on a very different basis, on the basis of disease. Like if you're under this, you may suffer a symptom or a disease. They're not based on wellness. So if we look at how well can I be, we don't want to be over the top, but we want to be somewhere in the middle range. And whether it's D3 or B12, we don't want to be right here or right there. So I think like B12 is easy to supplement. One can take the tablet maybe consistently, check your levels. Maybe you need it every day, maybe you just need it twice a week. So, but keep it consistent. This whole yo-yoing, I took it for 3 months every day, created really high levels, and then not for 3 months, and then the body doesn't go on holiday. It doesn't understand that. So sweet, consistent, 2-3 times a week. Keep the flow the same. Let your body know that it's at peace with that. Let it work efficiently. So like that's B12, but or people who are very, very deficient, sometimes they need injections. But I feel most of the times we are okay with sublingual, and that is a great option instead of taking injections if one is not so deficient that they need injectables.
It might even help the mental state.
Absolutely.
D and B12 are so linked
Yeah.
to
Yeah. There's so many
depression.
symptoms. Depression, it's more than that. Our nervous system depends on B12. Our hemoglobin, uses B12. It's just involved in so many processes. And if we are deficient, we're not linking those symptoms again because it's not visible to us. That backache, B12
Oh.
could be. So it could be a lot of factors. And I feel like plug in all the big stuff and then look at the smaller stuff.